will find out more and more. Celebrating despite the lockdown, Boris Johnson's employees are said to have met weekly for wine time Fridays. So the Prime Minister encouraged them to let off steam, and he himself is said to have stopped by regularly. Opposition leader Starmer calls for Johnson's resignation, and I say rightly so. New allegations of breaking corona rules in his seat of government are putting even more pressure on British Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the so-called Partygate affair. According to a media report, during the pandemic, they were not just isolated, but regular meetings in Downing Street where alcohol was drunk. This is what the Mirror, which is usually well informed in the matter, writes on Saturday. Johnson's staff met every Friday for Wine Time Fridays, and the Prime Minister encouraged them to let off steam, even though indoor meetings were strictly forbidden under lockdown rules. The head of government had visited these meetings several times himself. The employees bought an office refrigerator especially for the regular meetings to keep their bottles of white wine, prosecco and beer cool. Friday meetings have long been a Downing Street tradition, including under previous UK governments, according to the Mirror. However, the meetings continued even after corona restrictions were imposed. Johnson has been under massive pressure in the Partygate affair for a long time now, and several members of his Tory party have already called for his resignation. And British opposition leader Keir Starmer has now denied the Prime Minister's ability to govern. It was in the national interest that Johnson stepped down, the leader of the opposition party said at a conference in London on Saturday. He called on the Prime Minister's Conservative Tory party to do what was necessary and get rid of Johnson. What we have now is a situation where you have a Prime Minister who has lost the moral authority to lead, Starmer said. This authority is needed right now in the pandemic. Britain faces other major challenges, and Johnson is absent and in hiding, according to the Labour leader. Johnson himself wants to get out of trouble politically with a comprehensive restart. Internal investigations are currently underway in the lockdown parties in his seat of government, and the Prime Minister just wants to wait for the results. It was recently reported that there were celebrations at the seat of government on the eve of Queen Consort Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021. At that time, strict contact and distance rules applied. Queen Elizabeth II therefore had to sit all alone in the chapel of her Windsor residence when her husband was buried. Downing Street now apologized for this. It is deeply unfortunate that this has taken place at a time of national mourning, a Johnson spokesman said. So the British government has apologized to Queen Elizabeth II after the revelations about parties at Downing Street on the eve of the funeral. And they once again only apologize because somebody found out what they've done, not because they feel that they did something wrong. Well, even if Downing Street has officially apologized to the palace, Prime Minister Johnson's Partygate affair is costing his ruling party increasing support. According to a poll by the polling institute YouGov commissioned by the Times newspaper on Thursday, the opposition Labour Party's lead over Johnson's Tories grew to 10 percentage points. That's the largest difference since December 2013. And some Tory MPs, including Douglas Ross, head of the Scottish Conservatives, have already publicly called on the Prime Minister to resign. Johnson, he apologized in the House of Commons on Wednesday for a garden party at Downing Street during the first corona lockdown in May 2020. But he's such a liar. He said he assumed it was a work meeting. Bottoms up. In retrospect, this was wrong. Johnson's office manager invited about 100 employees to the meeting via email and emphasized bring your own booze, but he also sent that to Johnson. And that's why the opposition is demanding Johnson's resignation. And the Daily Mirror newspaper called the Prime Minister a disgrace on its front page on Thursdays. As the Times reported, Johnson was defiant in conversation with party colleagues. He personally did nothing wrong, he is said to have said at a meeting. And I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing about this bullcrap. With his apology, Johnson bought time, the newspaper commented. Nevertheless, the resistance within the party is great. It's over. It's indefensible, and it's amazing how little support he has within his group, the newspaper quoted a cabinet member as saying. So it's already starting in the cabinet. Johnson, once again, has not specifically ruled out resigning. He asked to await the outcome of an ongoing internal inquiry into several suspected Downing Street lockdown parties. Many now have the impression that Johnson's apology was not heartfelt. Now? I never thought so. He apologizes for being caught, edged Labour MP Lisa Nandy. At least 5 MPs from Johnson's Conservative Party called for a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister. MPs, many of whom are spending the weekend in their home constituencies, said they were showered with new messages from outraged voters over the reports. Several members of his own party are also calling for Johnson's resignation. Tory MP Tobias Elwood told the BBC the PM must lead or step aside. Backbencher and former Johnson ally Andrew Bridgen also said he felt the Prime Minister has lost his moral authority to run the country, although I'm wondering what Bridgen knows about moral. Well, Bridgen is among a number of Tory MPs who have previously written those letters of non-confidence to Johnson. When asked about the wine parties, he told the BBC it didn't matter whether Johnson was there or not. Ultimately, he is responsible for what goes on in government. What we are seeing is a culture where there's a rule for them and the rest of us, we just do as we're told. That's just not acceptable. So far, most members of the government have supported Johnson. However, corresponding statements by some ministers, including the Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak, were extremely cautious. Pension Secretary Guy Opperman backtracked and saying Johnson must change his approach. 2 top Tory politicians in particular have already been named as possible successors: Foreign Minister Liz Truss and Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak. Both only spoke up late Wednesday evening. Truss assured Johnson of her 100% support. Sunak, who's said to have a difficult relationship with Johnson, was, let's call it much more reserved. For Parliament to be able to vote on Johnson's future, 15% of the 360 Conservative MPs must express their no confidence in the Prime Minister. Johnson is officially a long way from that. The fact that the different Tory wings are not pulling in the same direction also speaks for the Prime Minister, the BBC commented. Johnson did not have to face any new questions from the media on Thursday. But not because of them. Because a family member tested positive for corona, the Prime Minister cancelled a planned visit to a vaccination centre. How comfy. According to the Daily Mirror, the wine season was recorded in the online calendars of around 50 British government employees. Johnson often joined the meetings at the end of the working day, the newspaper reported, quoting his sources saying, "The idea that he didn't know there was drinking is utter nonsense." A government spokesman declined to comment on the newspaper report to some other media. According to him, the government wants to wait for an investigation by the official Sue Gray, who will compile the facts about meetings during the corona pandemic. Gray could present her report next week, but we shouldn't forget it's an internal investigation from a Tory. She is not independent. The population makes Johnson feel their displeasure in a quite special way right now. In a video circulating on Twitter, more than a dozen people have gathered wearing a cardboard mask with Johnson's face and his usual outfit, suit and tie. In an allusion to the lockdown parties in the British seat of government, the masked people dance and sing, "My name is Boris and I like to party." And sorry, but I can't imagine any other democratic country where this would be possible without the head of government resigning months ago. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.